Hi, my name is Selena Weigel Elias Varga, and I am here to talk about my community. I live at West 174th Street between St. Nicholas and Audubon Avenue, which puts me right straight dab in the middle between Washington and Hudson Heights. So I have chosen to specifically focus on zip code 10033. As you can see, even in this small regional zip code area of only 0.6 square miles, we have an estimated population of over 61,000 people. We are in precinct 33/34, depending on what street you're on, in District 13 in the New York County, New York City, and New York State. This is a zoomed in version. 10033 focuses between 173rd and West 187th between Amsterdam and the Hudson River, as can be seen here. It's also known as Hudson Heights, but most commonly known as Washington Heights and this place in between. This neighborhood constitutes a diverse population. While there is primarily people in the early 20s, mid-20s, there is also a sizely population of persons over the age of 65. We are a racially diverse community to some degree, as much as all of New York City is racially diverse. This particular area is predominantly Hispanic, and of the Hispanic community, predominantly Dominican, representing 64.8% Hispanic community, 21.2% white, 3% black, and less than 2% of representations of Asian, other, and those of mixed races. Is it safe? Well, safe is subjective. Street Easy rated Washington Heights as the second safest neighborhood in Manhattan in 2020, with only 11 crimes per 1,000 residents in 2019. Keeping to 2019, I pulled up just 3 headlines from our local paper. 2 dead in possible murder-suicide in Washington Heights in January, a man fatally shot defending a friend in Washington Heights robbery in June, a man killed in Washington Heights shooting in October. Safe is subjective. Many of these happened very near my personal apartment, were witnessed by people. I have personally seen crime. It doesn't feel safe. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the Ohio State University's extension research on seeking the good community defines a good community in safety as an established plan and infrastructure for natural disasters. As a part of New York City, we have an amazing emergency team and force, and we are located quite a bit above sea level and above where the Hudson River is. You have to go down a hill to get to the river. So geographically, I feel safe. We're not at risk for volcanoes or flooding for that matter, and we have an amazing support team as a part of New York City. Free of unnecessary traffic and other community hazards is a very different issue. We do not have clean air to breathe. It's not Beijing, but if you leave your window open for an hour, there will be a film of dust on your windowsill. Safe water supply. While New York water is considered the safest and one of the cleanest in the cities, our pipes are not. And being in a building built prior to 1970, you will frequently see muck coming out instead of water. And the plumbers in this area do recommend filtering our water. And the low crime rate, again, is relative. These are photographs that I took myself in the past few months of garbage and filth trailing the streets. In the wintertime, we do not get snow service like many other neighborhoods do. You will see snow full of animal feces and garbage piled up until it melts and then is finally cleaned. So the filth does not feel safe. It invites cockroaches, rats, and mice. Among the garbage that litters the streets has been seen hypodermic needles, a lot of broken glass, and evidence of human bio-waste, including feces and vomit. This is a quote from the Ohio State University paper on seeking a good community. Only when people are trapped or have virtually no alternatives will they endure an unsafe community. I want to speak very briefly to this to say that many persons are circumstantially trapped in this neighborhood. Many are living here on what are called rent-controlled leases or rent-stabilized leases, which give them the ability to live and pay rent at a much lower rate than they would anywhere else. So even though they moved here 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when the neighborhood may have been nice or safer or cleaner, it has changed. Thankfully, the price that they pay for rent hasn't, but unfortunately, it can result in a feeling of being trapped. Personally, living in this neighborhood, it is the most affordable in Manhattan Island, and in a way, it forces many young professionals who are trying to navigate living in Manhattan and working in Manhattan to live in a less than safe place. So moving right along to goods and services, there are some great perks to this community and things that keep us alive and keep us going. Just in our less than 1 square mile of space, we have salons, a driving school, bakeries, doggy daycare, clothing stores, home goods stores, tattoo shops, weekly farmers markets during the warm seasons, sidewalk sales, local schools, parks and playgrounds, 3 family photo studios, many jewelry stores. There is also an international communication and commerce service, so because there is a large international community here, there are 3 separate locations where you can go to get currency exchanged and have very good call rates for calling home, wherever home might be, so that you don't have to use your own personal phone and rack up and pay extra fees for that. And that's really fantastic for the communities here that are often separated from their families. From there, we have massage services. We do have a yoga studio, massage parlors, and of course, the New York staple bodegas, small shops that sell coffee and cookies and treats and things. Our primary institution is a few blocks south. If our border ends on 173rd, this institution begins on 168th, but it is, I believe, one of the accounts for the younger renters in the neighborhood, nurses, medical assistants, and other staff for the hospital seeking residents close to work is the New York Presbyterian Hospital. In the formation of relationships that bind our community, we have the Plaza de las Americanas, which is located at the heart of our community, 174th, between Broadway and St. Nicholas, not far from my place and very near our local transit center, where on weekends you'll see people like this image represents congregating and dancing free of cost. Anyone is welcome, as you can see many representations of Asians here, and everyone dances with everyone. It's quite loud and quite fun. In this graph, I wanted to demonstrate that there is an elderly and invested community here for those who are 65 and older who moved into the neighborhood 30 plus years ago. And this neighborhood does host multi-generational families in one building, multiple generation families in one apartment, and others have been able to move one building or 2 away from their elderly relatives. In my building alone, 1/3 of my neighbors are over 65. And many have formed key sharing relationships with their neighbors, meaning that one neighbor has a key in the event of, for example, a smoke detector was going off and we were worried about our neighbor, and someone else was able to open the door and rescue them, which was fantastic. So, time is flying. We also have the Little Red Lighthouse, which was originally constructed in 1889. And moved to its location on the Hudson River under what is now the George Washington Bridge, prior to George Washington Bridge being constructed in 1921. It was moved in 1921. The bridge was constructed in the 1940s. It was originally thought to be torn down because it was no longer necessary with the bridge coming in and the bridge having its own lighting. However, the publication of the Little Red Lighthouse book in 1942 petitioned a sense of compassion for the Little Red Lighthouse and endearment, and so it was saved in 1948, decommissioned as far as the lights being turned off, but made a heritage site, and that's our little pride and joy in our neighborhood. We also have the Church of the Incarnate, a Roman Catholic church, which is absolutely beautiful, and it's amazing to see so many people of presumptively different ages, different cultures, walk by the church and honor it with the cross of head to belly, arm to arm cross motion. We also do have a small Muslim population, and literally around the corner from this Catholic cathedral will be found a very small mosque, the Masjid al-Rahman. So regardless of your religion or your culture, everyone can agree that good food is good. We have 2 representations of Dominican cuisine in this particular slide, including amazing pastries and the very common scene of roast chickens in the windows, as well as some Thai food and a wonderful Spanish bar, to name just a few of my favorites in the area. In line with the whole person principle, most businesses in this neighborhood are independently owned. The owners work and workers alike are seen performing duties in a casual manner and socializing between shops. There's a sense of equality in that manner, for sure. There's a lot of predictability in the neighborhood. In any neighborhood, as in any neighborhood in New York, you assume that a bodega is open and someone somewhere always has a pot of coffee brewing, regardless of the hour, especially with the hospital workers and hours nearby. A day without the sound of emergency sirens going up or down the street is an odd day, very predictable for New York. One can predict that if the weather is warm, there will be Domino's tables out, music playing, and people making the best of the weather. And there will always be a line at the post office. A place and social structure. Socially, young adults from maybe 16, 17 years old to mid-20s are seen socializing in certain identifiable spots. You can join them if you wish, you can avoid them if you wish. And the elderly are frequently observed going about their day, with doors being held for them, traffic paused for them, and groceries carried for them. And outsiders are very clearly outsiders. This is a Spanish-speaking neighborhood, and frequently, as a predominantly English-speaking person, I have to seek out services from providers who I'm able to share a language with, as I have not yet learned Spanish. There are many opportunities, less locally and more regionally, because we are so close to the heart and the heartbeat of New York City, and that's really where opportunities lie. However, the plaza, as mentioned before, offers spaces for socializing and even forming businesses with the local markets. Many people will just have a blanket or a table out selling goods. The local restaurants are amazing for socializing and enjoying entertainment, and I don't believe we have community gardens here, as I've been able to find. This neighborhood is definitely representation of homogeneity. Although the article speaks to Americans, this neighborhood represents homogeneity of Dominican heritage and first and multiple generations of Dominican community. So is Washington Hudson Heights, is the area code 10033 a good community? It's a good community for elderly and families of Dominican descent. So many goods and services are available. For someone like me in their early 30s, not Spanish speaking, and leaning towards organic life and organic goods and produce, it isn't a good community. And also as someone who comes from a quiet place and from a place with a very low crime rate, it has taken some adjustment. So my statement on that is that 10033 is a wonderful community for a certain population, and for the population that has invested in this community to make it what they need it to be. And it isn't necessarily a good community for others. So thank you for your time. I'm sorry I went over. And I can't wait to see all of your presentations. Cheers.